Gentlemen, welcome to episode 5 of the Keepin It Loose Podcast. I am your host, Dalton D. Sketch, here with my co-host, Oliver O. Mamba Shawa and Cole C. Sketch Wolfpack. In today's episode, we'll be going through two topics and a flyer. Topic 1 is, which college basketball team do we think will have the lowest cost per win this upcoming 2025-2026 season and why? Topic 2 will be the alternative. Which college basketball team do we think will have the highest cost per win this upcoming season and why? Essentially, we're going to be identifying one team likely to have the lowest cost per win, the most cost-effective success, and one team likely to have the highest cost per win, the most expensive wins, along with the reasons. And to wrap things up, make it a little fun, make it a little loose, we're going to discuss which college basketball program that we are getting behind for the 2025-2026 season, and where do we think that they will finish? Elite Eight, Final Four, who knows? Without further ado, gentlemen, how's it going? Ready for this week's episode?
So ready.
This is an exciting one. This is a passion one. This is a passion one here for sure. And I think just the cool part about this one, D-Sketch, is a little bit of both sides is going to tell you where we stand on certain teams as well. Lowest cost per win, obviously we think that team's going to play very, very well this year. Highest cost per win, they still might play well, but it's going to cost them a lot of money, right? So I think it's cool because we're getting a few of those as well as our kind of final prediction. So I think it's cool. I'm excited.
I mean, here at Keepin It Loose, we are talking about the intersection of business and sports, and what better way to do this than with the hard numbers, and also how do you measure success? It's with the W's, gentlemen. And you know what? We started off last week with Oliver Omamba Shawa, but C-Sketch, you're so passionate right now. I think that you should lead us off in this one. So C-Sketch, without further ado, what would you say do you think is the team that will have the lowest cost per win this upcoming season and why? Essentially the most cost-effective success.
D-Sketch, thank you for giving it to me first because I'm chomping at the bit over here. I really like my lowest cost per win because I think there is a right and wrong answer here. I know we're only 4 or 5 games into the year here. I don't see why Gonzaga does not have the lowest cost per win of any college football team this year, hands down.
Basketball.
How about basketball? C-Sketch.
Yeah, basketball. Sorry. Well, to be fair, Gonzaga doesn't even have a college football team, right? At least that any of us know.
They can't afford it because they're spending on a basketball team. But you're saying lowest cost, so that they're gonna have the most cost effective. What are the numbers we're estimating, C-Sketch? I mean, what drove you to this?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think the cool thing about Gonzaga is there's some like intangibles, right? Like Gonzaga's always been known as a basketball program, right? They're not known for anything else. The Gonzaga Bulldogs are a basketball program. Okay. And they've been damn good at it for a long time. I think they've made, 12 March Madnesses in a row at this point. And so when you talk about strategic advantages in teams, you're like, okay, how do these teams recruit the best that they possibly can so that they can, again, be the most successful, have the most wins? And so I think having the strategic advantage that you're going to Gonzaga, not only is a great education, but you're going to Gonzaga to join an elite basketball program. I think it's awesome, right? And so where I think Gonzaga has really just like, that I think this is the right answer to this question is they only have around 2 to 3 million in NIL money and NIL spend per year.
Right.
I mean,
peanuts.
Like that is peanuts. That is nothing. You look at these other teams that we're going to get into, these Arizonas, these Kansas, these Alabamas, these Kentuckys, these BY, whatever it might, they're 10 million. Right? Like they're all at the 10 million mark
or more.
And so you look at a team like Gonzaga, who right now 5-0 to start the year. So I will say we've got a little bit of a head start. 5-0 to start the year. They look great. I think they're ranked 12th, something around there in the country. I think that and I think a lot of people, a lot of our listeners will say the same thing, that Gonzaga is at the same level as a Duke, as a Kentucky, as a Kansas, as all of these elite basketball programs, but they only spend $2 to $3 million a year in NIL money. And so that's point number one, right? We have the NIL spend, and then we have the coach's salary, which I think this is the other cool thing. Mark Fay, head coach for, or Mark Few, sorry, head coach for Gonzaga, the Gonzaga Bulldogs. One of the most recognized, well-known coaches in college basketball. The cool thing, like, he is there because of how like wholesome and how heavy-hearted they are about college basketball. And for those reasons, his salary is $2.8 million. Like it's anywhere between 2.8 and 3 million. So let's just take both the 2 points, right, of our main statistics. Let's say high end is 3 million in NIL. High end is 3 million for Mark Few's salary. We're sitting here looking at a $6 million total NIL plus coach's salary spend from a team that is playing in a conference where 90%, 95% of their basketball games are against teams that are just simply not very good. I mean, they're playing Long Beach State. They're playing UC Irvine. They're playing like St. Mary's is the only other team really in their conference that ever gives them any trouble. And so you're looking at a team that, and I'll let you interrupt in a second here, but you're looking at a team that is typically around, they go about 30-2, 29-3, right? Like that is high win, low loss because they're in the easiest conference from an elite college basketball team. If you look at the top 25 teams in college basketball, they are in the worst conference and have the easiest schedule of any of those teams. So again, when you think low cost per win, low spend, it's a no-brainer.
So you're saying around $6 million total. I get that. You have their NIL and then you have the coach. You're at $6 million. Last year, Gonzaga, 26-9, 26 wins. You think it's going to be Maso Menos 26 this year?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Moss, D-Scatch, and I actually really appreciate that question because I think the cool thing about today, and I know we're focused on the business aspect, but we're also focused a lot on success and performance. And so success and performance is always going to come from a couple factors. It's going to come from the head coach, who has been the head coach at Gonzaga and led them to Final Four after Final Four over the past decade. So you obviously know they've got a great disciplined coach that knows how to coach some young men. But what I like about this team is they're very similar to some older Gonzaga style basketball teams where their two lead scorers are small forward, power forward / centers, right? They're the big men. And what Gonzaga's always done really well, like think of Drew Timme. I don't know if you guys remember Drew Timme, the stash man, right? Mr. Loose himself. But they ran that offense through Drew Timme as kind of that 6'9", 6'10", center, power forward, small forward, hybrid. He can play the 3, 4, or 5, right? And so you have Graham Ike, who's a senior. He's been with Gonzaga since the start of his college basketball career. Oliver knows this, right? Just from outside conversations. I love teams that have players that are sticking around and building with the program. And so Graham Ike, forward, along with Braden Huff, who's a junior, who's also been there for all 3 of his years. You got 2 guys that have been at Gonzaga for 7 years.
Are we talking 27 wins, 28 wins, 29 wins, 30 wins? We had 26 last year. How much better are they this year?
I think they can get to 28 to 30 here, honestly. I think they're going to be just an absolutely dominant basketball team. The cool thing, again, 3 of their 5 starters are seniors. I love seniors in college basketball. Yep. I love them because that's how you get hot early, because you got guys that get experience and they know how to play together. They've been going to the gym every day. They've been spending their off seasons together. They've been going on fishing boats together. That's a cohesive team. And I think it's gotten to the point with Gonzaga right now where they've got 3 guys that take care of the basketball, and Graham, Braden, and Adam Miller, I think, is the third guard. And then, Adam Miller is the third guard. And then you have this true freshman who has not missed a 3-pointer yet this year. Like, we're through 5 games. He hasn't missed a 3-ball. So
that's incredible.
You have 2 forwards. You have 2 forwards that are absolutely manning down the court with 3 guards two of them being seniors and one of them being a true freshman that can absolutely bang threes. I mean, this team's going to be awesome. I'm excited. They have the easiest schedule of all time. Mark Few is one of the best coaches in college basketball. I love Gonzaga for lowest cost per win for this year. I'm excited to see it.
Oliver, how can you follow up that passion? Is that even
no, I
possible,
mean,
do you think?
well, absolutely. I think Cole, you hit on so many good points. You hit on all the great points. We talked about the cohesion of the program. We talked about how much the coach is getting, how much the players are getting. We talked about the conference that they're playing in. One thing that I want to touch on as well is how much does that win cost, right? And I think that's the intangible here. How much
Dang.
does that win cost? So when you are playing a bunch of, terrible teams, and Gonzaga is playing a lot of terrible teams, they've dominated their conference for the last couple decades. It's no joke about it. That's incredible. They're going to continue to earn the respect. They're going to continue to go to the big dance, and they're going to put up a serious fight against a lot of guys because that's a team that gels. And I think that's what's going to be the most interesting thing about this whole point of discussion. I mean, this year is just an experiment. It's a petri dish to figure out, does the money work or does the, traditional aspect of building a team work? And it frustrates me because I don't know the answer. And we're all going to figure this out in the next 6 months. But as far as the
Maybe
team
the
that I
next 6
thought,
minutes.
and you said 6 million. I calculated a team at 6.5, and I know this is a team that you particularly enjoy. And it's a
Okay.
team that had a long run last year, kind of took everyone by surprise. Historically, a good program. However, 6.5 is what I calculated them at. And that's the BYU Cougars. And it's a similar mantra. Over there. And I just want to explain, people aren't just going to BYU for, any old reason. They're
This
going to
is your
BYU.
team for lowest. This is your team for lowest cost per win is BYU.
I've got them at 6.5, and I've got them going
Okay.
fairly deep. And I've got them around 28 wins. And let's just think about this for a second. How much one player can change the game. And who was that player last year for BYU? Saunders. He changed
Yep.
the game.
Richie.
He changed the game back, and he's ready to lead. Now, who's the freshman? Who's the freshman that we're looking at right now that's putting out incredible numbers?
It's
Divansa.
Davansa. Yep. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Super.
And there's another guy on the team. I think it's Robert Wright the third, if I'm not mistaken, who's putting up some
with
incredible.
Baylor. He was with Baylor last year. Junior, I think maybe this year. Sophomore.
I actually think he's I don't know. I think he's a senior, actually. But incredible talent. And then I might just add this last name in here just to show it all. Because you need a big guy to tie it all together. You got the speed, you got the outside perimeter, but you need a guy that's going to be down low, ready to take people out. And that's Kebakita, baby. Kebakita. I mean, he is a monster. And you just see this guy just tear teams apart. And it's awesome. And I think BYU, they had a tough loss already to UConn. It's a great UConn team. UConn was at full strength. They're another team that has a lot of talent. But going forward, they're in a competitive conference. And they're going to have a lot of hard-fought battles that are going to be worth a lot more. And they're going to continue to prove themselves into the tournament. And I think that they're going to do very well. From an efficiency standpoint, BYU Cougars.
I got to debunk this, D-Scatch. I'm sorry, and this might completely rain on his parade here. It's unfortunate because right now what he's saying is $6.5 million. Okay, I was just doing the math over here. That's $225,000 per win at 29 wins.
Yeah.
At my $6 million for 29 wins is about $206,000 per win. Okay.
No. Hey, no disrespect to Gonzaga. I think wholeheartedly, if we're talking about wins and we're talking about number of wins, you are absolutely in the right. Gonzaga was an incredible pick. There's no disrespect there.
No, and I appreciate
BYU
that.
Cougars. I'm talking about the Big 12 BYU Cougars, baby, taking it all the way home. And I mean, ooh, does it feel good when they play Houston this year? When they play Arizona this year? When they play all these other teams that I'm trying to think that compete? I mean, UCF's competitor, Kansas State's a competitor. It's incredible. That just gets you so ready. And what matters at the end of the day? How
True
long can you
cost
last?
effective.
I agree with you on all of what you said. You know me. I am a BYU leaver. Okay. I
Mhm.
love the Cougs. Okay. I know that their head coach, Kevin Young, is making $4 million a year. I know these are the facts of the situation that BYU has a $10 million NIL spend this year, 7 million of which are going to the number one player in the world, the number one college player in the world, AJ DeBonsa. So I'm not sure where
7
you're getting
million? Wait,
7
wait, wait.
million, the
He signed a
largest
$7 million contract?
the largest NIL deal they're speculating in college basketball history.
So,
And yes,
so,
he did
so
convert to Mormon as well, if that has any bearing on the
I love it.
conversation too.
That
I love
does.
it. Now,
So
now let me ask you this question, just so we can clarify and be on the same page. Is that $7 million in 1 year?
I don't know if it's $7 million in 1 year. That's a good point. But from my research and my due diligence, I got 10 million in NIL spend.
Well,
Oliver, I had a comment on that. Considering that he is the number one recruit in coming out of high school, and also considering that he is considered to be possibly number one overall pick next year, that would leave $7 million estimated guess for NIL with 1 year. So I would believe it'd be $7 million this year, maybe $6-7 million this year of the $10 million they'd be spending. So yes, C-Scotch. I mean, well done on this research, bringing this up.
no, very, very good job. Very, 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 very good job. Thank you
You
for
know
pointing
how I
that
love
out.
the Cougs, Chew. So I'm
No, no, no,
sorry,
no, no, no. Thank you for pointing that
but
out.
you're
You know, I
wrong.
overlooked that. I overlooked that because I was running together rough estimates. I'm seeing it here that people are also estimating it 4.1 to 7.5, which completely debunks whatever it is that I just spit out of my mouth. And that is
That's right.
all me. But I will say, on that notion, what the heck? 7.5 million. You think about that for 1 year for one college player? I mean, PJ Haggerty couldn't even 3.5 for the transfer portal was kind of too much. Seven and
Well,
a half for a new guy is
Shadur
incredible.
Shadur made 6.
Well,
Shadur
that's
made
football.
6.
That's
I
football. We're talking
understand.
True.
yeah.
But
Apples
Shadur
and
was
oranges.
not he was not like Arch. I think Arch is somewhere around the 9. So, and I know that's
let me just
football,
keep
but
it
college,
loose and just own that one.
it's
I
all good.
overlooked that completely. Good
It's all
call.
good. Because I
That's
love
all right.
the Cougs too.
Oh,
I am sorry to debunk that on you, but
no,
he
I
is
own
the
it.
number one player in the world and one of the most highly touted recruits coming out of high school.
I
So you got,
absolutely own it. All for it.
Well,
D-Scatch,
you know,
D-Scatch, what do you have to say to add to the mix now,
I
huh?
guess to wrap things up, we'll just finish off with the right answer. That's what I'm here for. I am the voice of reason. I am the in-depth analyzer. I'm the college basketball guru. That's what they call these guys.
Uh-huh.
Not self-proclaimed, widely proclaimed by the audience. We're not talking about Drake London. We're talking about the Drake Bulldogs. The Drake Bulldogs is my most cost-effective success team this year. Because what we're talking about is
Good.
2 numbers, gentlemen. 2 numbers. That number is 1, what are we spending, and how many wins are we winning, right? And so at the top of that, we see Drake Bulldogs in such a small, little, tiny conference, little division, and then they're spending less than $1 million. That's less than 7 digits on a basketball coach right out of the gate. Overall, I'm estimating around $2.5 to $3 million total. That's being generous. It's honestly probably
Wow.
closer to $2 million. But last year, the Drake Bulldogs, 31-4. 31-4. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to do it again. I'm not. But if I can go back to that number that both of you have been using, I think it's very realistic for us all to maybe use the same number, which is 28 wins. 28 wins. And when you get my top
29.
number with that
29.
number,
I had 29 D-Scatch, 29
I
wins.
know. Well, you changed it again. I'm the college basketball guru here. So
Oh,
I
okay.
just had to make it, and the moderator, I had to just adjust it a little bit for all of us to be at the right kind of field here. But as I said, coach salary, NIL spend, and their wins projected. That's what it comes down to. That's the equation. Gentlemen, that was a fruitful discussion. I'm looking forward to this
Dalton,
next one.
Dalton, No, hold on,
Yeah,
dude.
hold on. Whoa. Yeah, we're not just going on like, oh,
Yeah, we're
I
not just
choose
throwing.
Bulldogs and like,
Uh-huh.
no, I don't care. I don't care if it's perfect timing or not to move on to our next segment. Okay.
Incredible
Oliver, please
pick.
take the floor. Please
Incredible
take the
pick. Let's
floor.
give you a little praise real quick. Incredible
Yeah.
pick.
We
You
spent
did your
a few
diligence.
minutes praising me, if that's okay. You guys want to give me my my flowers? That's cool.
They took everyone by surprise. They put their name on the map. We'll see how long it lasts. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. I mean, D Scott, you got him at about $143,000 per win, compared at the 28 number to about 214,000 for me. So you got him about $60,000-$70,000 less per win if they essentially win as many games as the Gonzaga Bulldogs. So it's Bulldogs versus Bulldogs here. And you're it's I like the pick, D Scotch. Honestly, very impressive pick. They had the number one defense in the country last year. I don't know if you knew that, but they had the number one defense in the country. I hope they can continue that. They've already lost, I believe, one, maybe two games to start the year. So they've only got a couple losses to work with on your 28 win kind of scope that you're working with. But all in all, I liked it, D Scatch. I think that's a good pick. And I like Drake. I think they're always a great basketball program, too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate the nice words. We can continue doing this if you'd like. I'm always open for more compliments and congratulations. I'm glad we're all on the same page here, the same pahina. We are a multilingual podcast here after all. Now we're going to now we're going to take the flip side. We're going to go into the alternative. We're going to be talking a little bit more about the highest cost per win or the most expensive wins in college basketball this season. Oliver, we're going to start things with you. Please take things away.
Yep. This was a tough one for me because I was looking at two teams that I think have poured a lot of money into their program. And they've got a lot of firepower. They're teams that have historically been good, or at least have had stretches of being good throughout times. And I'm not fully sold on them. I'm not fully sold on them, number one, because they're conference. One's in the SEC, the other one's in the Big 12. The other thing I don't like about it is how new everybody is. You had a lot of players leave last year, a lot of players come in. So these are all things that I'm weighing and why I'm thinking they won't win as many games. Those two teams, and you could really flip a coin with either one, because I think they're right around the same spend. I've got them about like 16 million. And that's Arkansas Razorbacks with Calipari. And I love Calipari. I mean, there's so much history. I love a coach that's been around the block. I love a guy that knows how to fire his players up. I love a guy that can take his team to new levels. They had a lot of people last year injured too. So I got to give them a little credit there, but a lot of those people left. So you're looking at this team with a huge spend trying to reclaim what they missed out on. And I just don't believe that they're going to do it. I mean, look what happened this week. Winthrop, almost taking them down. It was just a shootout, no defense.
Eagles.
And it's like, exactly. And it's early in the season. It's really early to tell, but that's kind of where my head goes to. The next one that scares me for them is Kansas. Because I look at Kansas this year as a team that has to prove everything because of the stretches that they've had and the drought that they've been in. And losing by 12 to Duke last night, is that great? No, it's not great. Did they put up a fight? Sure. But there's a lot of guys that haven't played together yet. And again, I just don't know what people are buying into in the Kansas program right now because I can't tell you. And if I can't tell you, what are the players doing? Those are my two biggest concerns as far as most expensive wins because I think that they are going to underperform and underdeliver. I rest my case.
I just want to mention, with topic 2, we're coming into it talking about choosing one team. We're going to have to be decisive here on this podcast, Omamba. You can't just play the field all the time. We got to freaking keep this decisive. So
you want one pick?
The audience would request. That's just what was in the agenda for today's episode. So
I got one. Dalton, you got one?
I got one. There was
You know
more.
what? You know what? You know
Well,
what? They
more
sized
options.
they sized it the same for me. They sized it the same for me. But if I'm going to give you one cold hard loser, I'm going with Kansas, dude. Kansas is just not the team. Calipari is at least a head coach that can drive them there. I don't believe that Kansas has the culture built in. I
And
rest my
again, we're not saying they're losers. Maybe they're just the most expensive wins, right? And you also did sit Derrick Henry this past week for the backup running back for the
I did.
Falcons. So we have
I
to take
did, but we don't need to
these
go
five.
there. Let's just not go there because there's more to that story.
There's more
There's
to
more
that
to that
story. That's a
story.
whole other episode we can get into. And also,
Yeah.
we don't want our children and grandchildren hearing about that. I'll try to cut that from the roll. But I think what we can all agree on
No,
is that
keep it.
keeping it. Note to future D-Scatch, keep it. I
Keep
think
it.
what we all can agree with this answer, I mean, it's going to be one of the Power Four conferences, right? Which is why I think C-Scatch and I were a little bit surprised to see a Power Four conference team, BYU, suggested in that first answer you had, Omamba, with BYU, right? Because when we're talking about the wins, there's only a certain number of wins that these teams can have, right? They're all going to have the same number of wins or losses. There's like only so many games. And so now you're kind of just going, hey, maybe what are the conferences that spend the most and what are the ones that maybe just can't spend as most, right? So
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I will say this in doing the research, my thought was, okay, who are contenders? And I put together a list. And I hate to say it because I do this to myself every year. I overlook the freaking Gonzaga Bulldogs. Completely overlooked them. Drake, awesome pick out of the blue. Full fault on Gonzaga. I mean, they are freaking incredible. Excellent pick for both of you guys.
Thank you.
hey, appreciate it. Now we're going to go over to C-Scatch to give us his most expensive win team of 2025-2026.
Yeah, I think Oliver brought up a few good points in that and in the highest cost per win sector. There's a lot of things for me that I take into consideration when I'm basically picking somebody in a Power Four conference that spends a lot of money that I think will ultimately probably make the tournament, but has a tough time getting wins throughout the regular season. And it's because they have a tough schedule. It's because they have a lot of turnover on their team. And it's because they have a lot of young players alongside that turnover, just historically. I have the Kentucky Wildcats as the highest cost per win team. I think this is, again, there's a right answer to this question. Okay. And the Kentucky Wildcats, ever since losing Calipari, have had a really difficult time winning in the regular season. They don't have an identity. They've lost it since they got Calipari. Now they're coming in. They're paying their head coach about, I think it's 5 million, 5.2 million. So they're paying their head coach with, again, 10 million in NIL money. So let's call it around 15 million. And they are in questionably the best conference in college basketball again. You have Florida, you have Alabama, you have LSU, you have Arkansas, you have Kentucky, you have Vanderbilt. Like, the SEC is just unbelievable. And every time SEC teams play each other, it just means more in the South. And so I think with that being said, they've naturally had more losses during the regular season than in years prior, and most other Power Four teams or blue blood teams like Kentucky. You think of Duke, you think of Kansas, you think of Kentucky when you think of these blue bloods. And Kansas and Duke have had way more wins the prior few seasons than Kentucky has. So I think Kentucky's going to make it. I think they've got an okay team. They got a young team, a lot of transfers. We saw it yesterday. They got absolutely dog walked, right? Dog walked by the Michigan State Sparties. They're turning the ball over. They honestly, I was looking at it too. They don't have like a lot of scorers. They have one of the worst, like the last 3 seasons, they've been one of the worst defenses in the SEC. And they put together a team of people that don't score the basketball very much. And so when you have guards that don't really score the basketball very much, You have not really a whole lot of cohesion. You have a coach who used to play for Kentucky and was a national championship for Kentucky back in, what was that, 1996, 1998.
Uh-huh.
Now
And
you
and
fast forward.
shout out Mark Fox as well, former
Yep,
UNR coach. We love the
yep.
Foxes.
I agree. Shout the Foxes, no doubt about it. But I just think it's the hardest schedule. It's a team that doesn't score very well. It's a team that's going to have a lot of turnovers. It's a team that struggled with their win rate in the regular season. They usually start doing pretty good towards the end of the year because those players start playing really well together. Like Malachi Marino, right? They're 7-footer. That's a true freshman.
Mhm.
He's awesome, but he's like a 7-foot freshman. They take time to fill in. They take
They
time to
do.
get those ball handling skills. They take time to actually play good defense. That was on display last night against Michigan State in their 20-point defeat. I think Kentucky's going to struggle. They're spending over $15 million in a given
And
year.
another point, injuries.
Yeah,
Injuries. They're
yeah,
injured right now. They've got 2 guys out. One guy
mm-hmm,
out for God knows how long, and the
mm-hmm,
other guy out for God knows how long. So, that's tough on a team that's
yeah.
just recruited heavily. It's their top transfer. Their top transfer recruit, Jaden Quaintance, is out. That is not gonna bode well
Torn
early on
ACL.
as they're trying to find form.
He's going to take some time to come back too. That's why I think they win games at the end and make the tournament like the Kentucky Wildcats always do. But they
Mhm,
are going to be grinding at 500 for the first 20 games of the year, just like North Carolina did last year. North Carolina did the same
mhm.
thing. They were 500. They were a 500 team, and I think that was honestly another really good one. I'm interested to see where Dalton comes on this. But honestly, North Carolina was one of my other ones where I think they're kind of in a similar boat. They lost Roy Williams, but I chose one. It's the Kentucky Wildcats. It's going to cost them $1 billion to win every single basketball game, and I can't wait to see my Gonzaga Bulldogs bury them when they play them next. I don't know when that is, but they're going to bury them for a
So we
quarter of the
had
cost.
so we had Omama with Kansas and Seattle with Kentucky. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Correct.
Yeah, I definitely will say with college basketball, because now we're doing a different equation. With the first topic, we're talking about who has the lowest money they're spending but getting the highest wins. Now we're talking about who's spending the most money and getting the least amount of wins. And with NIL money, we're seeing the budgets become fairly aligned for most of maybe the Power Four. They're getting their caps. They're almost getting like, hey, you're going to get this much money to spend on players, and that's it. And they're going to max it out. But with coaches, it's a little bit different because they are going out and spending more on coaches above the NIL money, doing the NIL money for the players, and then they're going after the coaches and giving them those contracts. So, I love the pick that Oliver has with the coach for Kansas because he's the highest paid coach in college basketball.
Yep.
And so right there, when you just add up maybe a similar budget and then, that high paid coach, the only way that you can compete with it is that if you were to choose a team that is losing more, it's losing more. And, it's we never really get to ask about what you guys think about their record from last year and if it's going to get worse this year or how it's going to do. I mean, just for some context, Kansas last year, they went 21-13, not great. And Kentucky went 24-12. So I'd be curious to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? Are you guys think that they're going to continue with that pace or maybe lose more games?
I don't think there'll be much of a difference. I don't think there'll be much of a difference. I think, I think you look at it and it's kind of like net, right? It's net. You get rid of some guys that kind of didn't get the job done. You bring in some other guys, they're just not going to get the job done. Again, this is the experiment year of seeing, does money actually equate to real value, right? As far as performance of your team. And I think that's the biggest thing that we're going to see with the whole gamut. And I think a lot of head coaches have already called it out flat on its face. I think you've seen Izzo call it out. I think you've seen Rick Pitino call it out. Everyone's upset with this, but this is the way it is, and you're just going to have to play this way, and it's going to have to become more than money. And I think players will ultimately realize that. I think you're going to see a guy like PJ Haggerty go to the losing Kansas State and feel upset about that. I think that story speaks louder than the story of the guy that made a bunch of money and was just fine with it. So
And Cole, how
I
do you
think they're
feel
going
about
to
the
do
record
less.
for Kentucky?
Yeah, I think they're gonna be worse. Honestly, I really don't respect Kentucky as a basketball program at this point in time. I've it's been 3 years in a
Passionate
row.
guy on this one, C-Stat. You're a passionate guy on episode 5.
I am. I told you I was very excited for this because this is important. I think how college basketball is set up their NIL and coach. I think it's so cool. I think it's so well done. And with all that being said, you look. I think Kansas has a better record for sure than Kentucky, and I honestly think it's because of Bill Self. Like Bill Self is that dude. And he's not going to go and let his Kansas Jayhawks go and have another, what was it, a 13 loss season. He's not going to let that happen.
But do you know how
Or
much time he had with those guys? Like Hunter
I mean,
Dickinson?
Hunter
Like
Dickinson, this joke that's ever that was one of the highest.
he was like the rah-rah of the Kansas program though. I mean, he was that guy.
And Bill Self had to live and die on that hill. He had to live and die on that hill. There was nothing that made you want to pull your hair out more than watching Hunter Dickinson play basketball. But they gave him all that money. They said you're the face of our program. Like, I understand that. But Bill Self is a national championship coach that has his Jayhawks performing at a high level year over year. I don't think he follows that up. Kentucky, I just don't think they have an identity. And you look at what's comprised of their team, their starting five, and like you
I
said,
disagree.
their star isn't even gonna. When's their star gonna play? Like they're
I'm
without their best player for how long? Like if somebody
I
has
the
it, that'd be
reason the
great.
reason I disagree about one point you made, I think that Mark Pope has an excellent relationship with his players because he was a player for the team that he's coaching. He knows what that tradition's all about. And I've seen interviews with him. He's on the phone with these guys. They're just FaceTiming in. He's shooting the shit with them, but he holds them accountable. And I think they understand what Mark Pope is selling. As far as Self, I think people would like to be able to buy into it, but there's one word that I'm going to call attention to. It's the word divas. And I think you've got a lot of divas at Kansas State. I just don't.
Kansas. Keep
Sorry,
saying
Kansas.
Kansas
Thank you.
State. You keep saying
Yeah,
Kansas State. And I know
call
that
me out sooner.
I know they lost. I know they lost by 12 last night, but they were down 3 points with a minute left. Like it was a absolute basketball game with the Duke Blue Devils all day yesterday. I mean, it was
Well,
neck
I
and neck.
wish them luck. I hope they continue that. I don't think they will. I rest my case.
So, I mean,
But
the summary D-Sketch is, at the end of the day, really, okay, maybe Kansas is spending 600, 800 more grand on a coach than we're spending, but right around the same money in NIL. So it's just going to come up. Let's save this for future conversations. Who finishes the seasons with more wins, Kansas or Kentucky? And that's what we'll revisit in the future. I think that's where we leave that there.
What does the coach for Kentucky make?
Coach for Kentucky makes
5?
5.2 million.
I
Yeah.
think I think for doesn't the coach for Kansas make like 8 million or no?
I thought it was
He makes
6.
it's a pretty big amount. It's bigger than 5 for darn sure.
It is.
Yeah,
I
it's
thought it was
closer.
6.
It was pretty substantial versus everybody else. I didn't even see Kentucky really even closer to Bill Self. But
It actually is 8. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So it is a couple, it's a few million more. So I mean, they're gonna
that's
have
a
to
few
have
games right there.
probably
It's a few
4.
games that Obama can
Yeah,
spare.
that's about 3 games right there. That's about 2
Yeah,
to
it
3
is.
games. So
It is.
we'll see if Kansas Jayhawks have 2 to 3 more wins than Kentucky.
It was a great pick, honestly,
Yeah.
Oliver. I mean,
Yeah.
great pick.
You fuckers. I love it. I
I
love
mean, to
it.
finalize things, just keeping things a little bit loose here, as they say, we're going to go to one team that just didn't impress me last season, is not impressing me this season. I don't think is on anybody's high hopes, but I think they're going to be spending a lot of money just because of who they are and the conference they're in. And that team is going to be the University of Texas Longhorns. last season they won around 19 games, still went to March Madness for whatever reason. I don't think they're any better this year, but I think this year they're having to spend more money in NIL, but also so are the other colleges in the SEC. And so just for those reasons, I just think, hey, you're going to have a low win count. I think it'll be around that 18 to 20. I think you're going to spend over $10 million overall. And that is why I think it's going to be the most expensive wins you have in college basketball this season, gentlemen.
Yeah, because it looks like he's getting paid $5.3 million. Their head coach, Sean Miller, about $5.3 million per year. So really right on the same thing as Pope, the Kentucky coach. And then, like you said, they got the $10 million NIL spend. So essentially, like you're saying, again, they're going to have less wins than Kentucky. Like
Yep.
that's the cool part about this topic is we've essentially, this one is saying who's going to have the most wins and the least wins when we know that all these teams are spending around the same amount of money. But yes, Kansas, because of the head coach salary and Bill Self, is spending a bit more than me and UD Sketch. So
Yeah. And it's fascinating as we talk about this to look into the future as these other coach contracts get signed and what it actually is going to do to affect these programs. What I can say is from looking at the books, which were shared from last season, not one conference last year made money. Not one of them made money on their sports for their college basketball, at
No,
least.
I think that's a
So
problem. Just on what? On what totally?
it was based on their revenue, based on from what I saw, based on what they made from their conferences minus what they spent. So like a lot of the money that they had to go make up that delta was from boosters and other means, maybe the government, who knows? But
surprising.
Well, there's your leak. There's your leak in the bottom of the boat, right? The player spend ultimately, because I'd be curious to understand what that delta was. If you're looking at 10 million bucks, there's your leak in the bottom of the boat.
yeah, I mean, conference wide, it was pretty vast. I mean, there was not one conference that was close to really breaking even in terms of that spend. So again, it'll be interesting to see how the NIL evolves as well as these coaches' contracts evolve. What I think has been super interesting so far as we're getting close to wrapping things up is that none of us have had the same decision. Same thing with previous episodes. We all kind of have a little bit of different perspectives, which I love to see. And I wonder if I just jinxed us. I wonder if I did it. I wonder if I did it because we're heading into the final round, gentlemen. The final round in which we are going to be discussing who is going to be our basketball team that we're getting behind this season and where do we think that they're going to finish. I'm going to kick things off since I let you two start off topic one and topic two. It's a school, it's a university, it's a community that we all love and have expressed so far on this show, and that is the BYU Cougars. BYU Cougars is who D Sketch is getting behind in 2025 and 2026. We all know the reason why. But if I must say it, it's AJ DeBansa. And so,
Come on.
come on, baby. But the huge prediction I'm making is that, this is a school that's never gotten past the Sweet 16. But with AJ DeBansa, this is a team that, in my view, is going to the Final Four, gentlemen. BYU going to the Final Four for the first time in BYU history. Count it right here. You heard it. Hear it today, folks. Episode 5, keeping it loose.
Wow.
Gentlemen, feel free to comment on it. Feel free to take the lead on whoever wants to go next. I'm not even sure that anybody can do that. I'm not sure if we shut down the episode after that and just say, hey, we all
No,
agree. But
I'll comment on it. I'll comment on it. Are
Oh,
you riding
okay.
with them? Just so I'm clear, I just want to clarify too. Are you commenting on that? Are you saying that you want to watch them win the whole thing?
no. Cole, did
What are
you
you saying?
say the Final Four? I made it
Final
very clear. It
Four.
was a whole finale and everything. I said the Final Four. So make it the
Dude,
Final Four. I ain't saying go to
I must have been so
credit.
amped up when you said Debansa that I completely blacked out.
You blacked
But
out.
Final Four, BYU. Okay, I have no
First
disrespect
time
on
in
that.
program history as well, Chew. Don't know if you missed that one, but first time in program history, which
No.
awesome.
See, I'm here for the audience to make
It's
sure that
honest.
they're listening.
It's in the Book of Mormon. In the Book of Mormon,
Yes, it
they said Aniset AJ DeBanza Jr., born January 29, 2007, is going to bring BYU to the Final Four in 2025-2026 season, as foretold by the prophecy and Keeping It Loose, episode 5.
Loose.
Good work, D-Sketch. Great
Thank
work to find
John
that
Rick.
one.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you know what? I think we're going to be ending it today with O Mamba Shala. So we're going to, have next one be C Sketch with his pick.
Wow. Well, this is awesome because you just made the comment, and it is Richie Saunders and AJ DeBanza and the BYU Cougars that will be making their run this year. And not only are they going to make it past the Sweet 16 for the first time in program history, but
Past the
they
Elite
will have a spot in the Final Four. I don't think they're going to four, but they will be in the Final Four this year. I love this team. I love this team. I think they got one of their shooters injured right now. They're still playing great basketball. They were neck and neck with UConn, who I personally think is the number one team in college basketball. We'll leave that one for kind of a different conversation.
Definitely.
But I think with Richie Saunders, the senior guard at BYU that's been doing this with AJ DeBanza, I think those Cougar boys will be loose all year, and they're just going to get better and better because I think Kevin Young's an awesome coach too. I'm really excited for the BYU Cougars.
I said it hadn't happened, and here we go. We go and jinx it, and we have the first Keeping It Loose episode where we have a little bit of that synergy right there. Wow. Between the Sketch brothers too, 5 years apart, but here we are. Here we are calling it the same. Out of all of these colleges, out of the 64 we could have maybe chosen from the March Madness, and we chose this one. We're riding with the Final Four, Scott.
Well, these guys, they're spending a lot of money. They spent a lot of money too. They're up there with all the other programs in the Power Four.
We know that. We know that, and now Oliver knows that too.
Now I know that as well. And I think you guys hitting on a key point with the BYU Cougs is you've touched on the culture, you've touched on the types of players and the talent, you've touched on the key players, you talked about the coach,
the money.
I love the BYU Cougars. I could not be happier with that pick. But I'm not going 3 for 3. Okay. I'm not going 3 for 3. And if we're talking about riding with a team, you guys know I'm not someone that picks teams just because, it felt right.
Is it Kansas?
I pick teams because I think about what is going to happen. I think about if I was going to play for that team, would I play for that team? Would I buy into that team? What drives the ship? 2 words. Rick Pitino. Let's go, baby. I'm going for the Johnnies, okay? St. John's Red Storm. We're not talking about efficiency per win with cost capital budgeting. We're not talking about overspending, underspending. They spent a lot.
No.
They spent a lot. They actually, we didn't even talk about facilities, but this guy has brought an entire community around him. He has brought the entire city of New York behind the St. John's Red Storm. And I have never been more impressed with someone of the likes, Rick Pitino, coaching all the way in. He actually coached for the Knicks, coached for the Celtics. He brought 5 different teams to March Madness. And in his second year back at St. John's, he brings them to the March Madness tournament. They win in the first round, lose in the second. It was ugly. But what fuels Rick Pitino's mentality more than anything? Hardship and leaning into it and overcoming it. And I think with the recruiting class they pulled together, one of the best recruiting classes. You've got Dylan Mitchell, you've got Bryce Hopkins, you've got Josen Sannon, you've got Oziah Sellers, you've got Dylan Darling, and might I add the centerpiece that's back and ready to play, Zuby Ejiofor. My man. Zooby Dooby Doo. I am so excited to see these guys, and I think this is going to be the test of all time because Rick already knows, Coach Pitino already knows the challenges ahead when you bring a class together that has not played before. He knows what it takes to get a team to work together as cohesively as possible in as short amount of time as possible. He works their freaking butts off. And they had a loss to Alabama that was ugly, and they still only lost by 6, and that is exactly what they needed. They needed to lose that game. First game of the season. Go lose to a team when you didn't play your best, right?
Uh-huh.
And
So
it
where
actually
is it
wasn't the
going?
first
Where
game.
are they
It
going,
actually
Omama?
wasn't the first game of the season. I take that back. It was
I
the
don't
second.
know where they're. I don't know where they're going. I don't know where. How far are they
Omama,
going?
where are they going?
How far are they going? They're going all the way, baby. They're going all the way. They're going loose. They're going to go all the way.
What do you mean
I
all the way?
honestly,
What do you mean? Like past
they're
third
winning the whole
base,
dang thing.
we're going home run, we're going the whole shabam.
They're
Is it a
winning the
touchdown?
whole.
Is it a
They're
touchdown?
winning the whole thing. We're calling a winner right here, St.
Is it a
John's, Ricky P.
kick return?
If Coach
Loose.
Patino is watching this
Loose.
right now, what do you have one thing to say to Coach Patino before he goes into this, this season?
I'd say, Coach, you've never, ever, ever wavered on your belief in your players and yourself, and you've tuned out the entire noise. What you did by sitting RJ Lewis in the second round when he was playing like a piece of shit is completely warranted. And it set a freaking precedent for the next season beyond anything I've ever seen. And these boys know that they are in it for the long haul. St. John's 2026 March Madness champions, keeping it loose.
Coach Patino, you're very welcome. I'm keeping it loose whenever you want to come. Maybe after the season, after you're the championship, you can come in here and talk with Oliver about how it all happened and how you did it. Gentlemen, that was such a wonderful episode 5. Couldn't have enjoyed it anymore. On that note, gentlemen, have a wonderful rest of your week. Keep it loose and looking forward to episode 6. Loose.
Loose.